So the truth about having vision as a filmmaker, whether it's for a film or for your career or for your life, is that there are only two things we ever really have control over. And those are the what and the why. And then we'll talk about the thing that we never really have full control over. But first, hi, hello, I'm Marissa Roxas. I'm a filmmaker based in San Diego, California, who also works a day job in the audiovisual industry. And I thought we'd talk about, vision and what's in and out of our control as filmmakers, as independent artists. And I hope you don't mind that future Marissa over there is working on something, probably planning out the month of May or editing. I don't know, whatever she decides to be doing next to me. I hope you don't mind. This topic is something that I wrote about in my journal the other day, and it was just something I thought about, and it honestly brought me a lot of peace. This is actually the second time that I'm recording this video, only because I don't think I articulated it in a way that I wanted to. Also, when it comes to my voice here on YouTube, not just my speaking voice, but like how I hope these videos make you, the viewer, feel is, I hope they're chill. That's why I also decided that I would talk alongside my working self, because I hope that when you watch any of my videos that it motivates you, inspires you, whatever, reminds you to work on your own projects, to go out and experience things for yourself. Because I really appreciate you watching this video, but in order to live a great story and thus tell great stories, whether you're a filmmaker or not, is to, live a great life. So I hope you do that after you watch this video. Thank you for including me in this thing we call life. Anyways, back to the topic of this video. So vision. As I said, the two things we have control over are what and why. So what is our vision? So that could be an idea for a film, and then what in terms of what we want for ourselves career-wise, where we want to live, our lifestyle, right? We can decide all those things. And I think the next thing that's in our control, and I would say is more important, even more important than the what, is the why. Why do we want these things? Why do we want the what? Because when it comes to making films, when it comes to building and creating a life that we really are proud of, and we really find peace and fulfillment and meaning in, it's not always easy, especially in the capitalist society that we live in. But all that to say, we have to know why we want the things that we want, and the why is what's going to keep us going. When it comes to film and filmmaking, you can't just, I'm going to make this film. You have to know why you're making that film. And it doesn't have to be deep, but when you know exactly why you're making a film, that's what's going to carry you through, because filmmaking is very hard. I will go into more examples soon here. And the last thing I want to talk about, at least generally high level, is the one thing we never really have full control over, and that is the how. So as I said, we have control over what we want, we have control over why we want it. What we never really have full control over, how it all happens, how it all plays out. We may have influence over it for sure, but you just never know how things will play out, how cards will be dealt, and all the figurative language you could put to that. And the reason why this brings me peace personally, and hopefully it brings you peace, is that I think everything honestly works out the way they're meant to. Even the moments we're let down, even the moments where it feels like it's failure. But I would really challenge you to think about any time you set out to make a project, or you set out to achieve a certain goal, to change your life in a certain way, and you achieved it. You made the film, or you got that job, or whatever it is. You knew what you wanted, and once you got it, right? If you look back, did it happen the way that you thought it would? Maybe it did, and if it did, amazing. You're an incredible manifester. But if it didn't, I bet you couldn't imagine it any other way, right? Even if it didn't go exactly according to plan. Now, for specific examples when it comes to me and my life and like my filmmaking career specifically. So when it comes to like a project specific example of where I really only had control over the what and why is my directorial debut, a short film called You and Me Will Always Be Back Then. So I knew, obviously, I wanted to make this film. I knew why I wanted to make this film, and not to get into it too heavily, but essentially this story is based off of my own life, basically plucked straight out of it. And as a queer Filipina, I so badly wish that I so badly wish that a younger version of myself saw this film. So at the end of the day, I was making it for her, for a younger version of me. Honestly, a lot of things I make are for a younger version of me. So that was a big why. I also knew that setting out to make this project, I tasked myself with the challenge of raising money, not only so I could produce this film, but so I could pay my crew, my casting crew, and which I ended up doing. At the end of the day, was only able to pay them a stipend, but honestly, that is the most money I've ever raised for a project. So that was an accomplishment in itself, and it also taught me how much money I would actually need to properly pay everyone. But yes, the what is making the film, and the why is the representation and to pay my crew, to pay my casting crew, which happened. Both things happened. The film was made and I paid them. The how, I would say there are things that I couldn't have imagined have played out the way that it did. And I mean this for the best. Like, I truly had the most life-changing experience making this film. I also went through a lot of heartache making this film too. And it's been 2 years since we made the film, but as hard as it was, I think it was all worth it. I know it was all worth it. And I truly had some of the best moments, not only of my whole filmmaking career during that project, but also of my whole life. Again, long-winded way of saying my what and my why were very clear, but the journey I could have never predicted. And yet I'm so grateful that there's some things that I couldn't have predicted, because what would be the fun in joy that? And then when it comes to my filmmaking career at large, just to give cliff notes about where I've been, is in film school, I thought I wanted to be a director. As soon as I got into the real world, I realized the reality of not just becoming a director, but the reality of working in the film industry. That led me to becoming more of a cinematographer, more of a director of photography when it came to making films. And then again, full circle, come back to making You and Me Will Always Be Back Then in 2024. I feel like I've phrased it this way of, I feel like I fell back into directing, and I was kind of led back to directing and realizing it was something that I did really want to do, and come to realize I am good at, or I do have a natural ability at. Of course, there's been years of experience just on set that have gone behind it, but the point I want to make with this is that what I want has always been to tell stories, to make films, and the why has stayed pretty consistent as well, in terms of I hope to just bring greater representation as a queer Filipina So those two things have never really changed, but the how of it all, again, I could have never predicted, but I'm so grateful for every step, for every detour, for every moment when I thought that I couldn't do this or wasn't cut out for it. I'm grateful for all of it because it all just informs not just me as an artist, me as a filmmaker, but who I am as a person today. And if you've taken the time to listen to me just ramble, thank you. But I also hope that wherever you are, you trust where you're at, and you trust that as long as you know where you're going, and even if you don't know what that is, or maybe you thought you knew what you wanted, but you're kind of in a moment of discernment or deciding where you want to go next, or even contemplating, what you really want for yourself, know that it's all part of it. It's all part of the course. Like, just trust it. I promise you will always end up exactly where you need to be. And don't worry so much about the how it's gonna happen. Just as long as you're clear on the what, as long as you're very, very clear on the vision and the why behind that vision, the how will present itself. So just keep going. I promise it'll all work out.